And here
All
we are.
right. Hello, everyone.
Good
Welcome.
afternoon.
Good morning, maybe. Or good
Good
evening.
evening, maybe. Apparently, like we're in the top 20 in Sweden right now. So
Oh, it is
Wow.
good evening for them, right?
yeah, yeah. So hey, welcome. Good to be back.
Welcome, Rick. Good to see you. Hi, Leland. Welcome
Hey.
on Honest Look. As you guys may see, we have a wonderful guest here today. I want to go right into it and introduce him to you. Super excited for this
Yeah,
conversation. I want
absolutely.
to dig right in.
Yeah.
All right, everyone. So Leland is a breathwork facilitator, a combat veteran, former paraplegic who is now earning his double doctorate in neuroscience and psychology. He's also the founder of the Willful Warrior and the Welcome Home Method. So I'm going to let you tell us a little bit more about all this stuff. That's quite the background. Sounds like you have a lot of experience and you've overcome some really serious stuff. And yeah, I'm going to give the floor to you. We would like to hear all about that. What took you to where you are today? Where did this whole entire journey start for you?
Awesome. Strap in for the next 3 days, y'all. Here we go.
Yeah. I'm hanging on.
Oh my goodness. Yeah. So it all started this whole journey. Well, of course, the childhood was one part of it, but moving into the military shifted everything for me. I was a C-130 load master, and I was really set on training to become a pararescueman, our special forces groups. And I got to work with them a lot in Yugoslavia. So I was there for the Kosovo conflict, and we come back from combat, and we're doing our R&R thing, right? Rest and recovery. And we're action junkies. We do some of the dumb high vis stuff, that gets your haunches up. And I went skipping across the top of the water and folding like a lawn chair, apparently, after just trying to have some fun. And come to find out, that snapped my neck right at about C1 or C2. Thankfully, it did not snap the cord, obviously, or else I would not be talking to you right now. But it did leave a contusion on my spinal cord. It shut everything down. I was actually dead for a little over 3 minutes.
Wow.
And they had to revive me on the shore, which was absolutely interesting, being able to really watch. Like, I remember that out of body experience. You hear from a lot of people that have had near death experiences, and just watching the guy revive me was actually very peaceful. It was the most peace that I've ever experienced in my life. There was like no wants or needs. There was no feelings, just this isness about existence. And extreme contrast, I come slamming back into my body, and I wake up inside of the ambulance, and I go from this bliss and existence level experience to sheer terror, because I've got this horse collar wrapped around my neck, and all I can feel is this extreme pain at the back of my occipital lobe, that base of your spine, the base of your skull on the back of your head. And then I started noticing, this guy's asking me if I can feel that, What the hell is he talking about? So I asked him, and he said, dude, I've been stabbing you with a needle all up and down your body for the past couple of minutes. Are you not feeling any of that? And that's, of course, when the sheer terror set in, like, I can't feel anything. I don't know what's going on. And then I started noticing, as I swallowed, like my Adam's apple, it would feel like it disappeared, right? Like it was just a very strange feeling, and terrifying to come back from that and then be stuck, like trapped in your body, essentially, which is exactly what it felt like, especially for those first 2 days. Just a prisoner in my body, a prisoner in my mind. I've got everything that happened inside of Yugoslavia playing over and over and over again in my head, on top of the fact that, holy crap, I'm 19 and I might not ever walk again. Yeah, so it was a little much to take. You can imagine, for a 19-year-old, life is over as far as you're concerned. There's nothing that is seeming normal about the situation. And the doctors, of course, nothing against them. It's their training. Of course, they tell you all the managing expectations talk, right? They give you the whole conversation of, you can't heal nervous tissue, and we can't tell you this will ever come back. You might be stuck like this, so we might just have to manage your expectations of life moving forward. And on the second day of getting that speech is when I just emphatically insert expletive said no. And at that moment, like my brachial plexus, which is this nerve cluster right here in your neck, just lit up, and I felt this whoop that went up the neck. And the moment that happened, I was like, oh, okay, hold on a minute. Something just happened there. And I got a chill just mentioning it to you right now. It's obviously a somatic experience for my body.
Yeah.
But that was all I needed to know, that I was not stuck with what that guy was just telling me. I do not have to subscribe to whatever your prognosis is of my condition. And fast forward a little bit further, I was at the point where I could finally do some physical therapy because I was starting to get at least the feeling back in my upper body. After that moment, I just noticed the mindset shift changed everything for me. And then the physical therapist the military gave me was an Ashtanga yogi. So he had these really cool breath techniques that he was teaching me. And he's like, well, while you're going through some of these stretches, of course, it's going to be uncomfortable. You're going to experience pain, discomfort, and all these other things. And as we're going through, we're going to feed the body and do these really cool breaths. So every time we did one, it was this amazing euphoric feeling. And then I started noticing, holy crap, within 2.5 weeks, I had most of my upper body feeling back. I couldn't, fine motor skills weren't quite there yet, but something was happening. Something huge was happening. And then following through with that for, at least the first 2.5 months, I was pretty much to the point where I had most of the feeling back in my body. And it was amazing to experience that shift. And that was, obviously after that first experience with my physical therapist, I was hooked. I dug in like a tick after that and just continued to experiment with the breath mixed with the yoga and stretches and everything that they had been teaching me. So it was quite the journey. It took about 2 years to get back to fully normal again, when, like we talked about before, whatever normal is. But it was quite the journey. It was quite the journey. And of course, back then I had no idea that it was going to turn into something like this. But everything that continued after that point, that messy middle of the drug addiction and alcoholism and all the other things from the mental side, since I had not yet discovered the mental component and just figured out the physical form, there was that messy middle there for a while. And then I noticed, same thing. The breath can help you with all of that, aspects of the mind, aspects of the body. And that mental component started to land. And then the final catalyzing moment for me was my father in 2016. I had found out that he had took his own life, and he was a Special Forces Army Ranger. And that was kind of like, that was the signal to me that obviously something that you're not sharing because you made it through all of this. And he needed it, obviously, and so many others need it. We lose 22 a day. Well, that's the low number that we lose a day to suicide. And that was kind of like, that was the click for me. That was the aha, like, dude, you need to get out there and do something about this. If this is working for you, imagine what it could have done for him. Imagine what it can do for others that are dealing with pain and suffering. So that was when I started on that whole journey. And it's been just about a decade now of taking what I found and then wrapping how the hell did I do that around it? You know what I mean? Figuring out the logical side of what's happening inside of the body, which is where I started studying neuroscience and psychology and epigenetics and finding out this is why this works. Holy crap, they had this figured out like thousands of years ago. How did they know these things?
Best kept secret.
Yeah, absolutely. This back in those times when you read the writings of everything that they talk about in the history was just common knowledge. This is something the community would do together, and now obviously it's a very different animal in society. We're very distracted, and we're training to distract ourselves further every day. And these practices help bring you back to that, as well as the physical side of things. So you've got both. It's this amazing, you get the physical side of it. So the physiology that changes And then you also have the mental side of it, so the psychology side of it as well. And it serves every aspect of the body and the mind. It's absolutely amazing.
Well, that's quite the remarkable story. And I know that's just one part of your story because I read your whole bio. I know there's much more to it. Right. But I want to pause for a second because what I'm hearing you say and sharing is that there was a moment where there was like almost like a trust, faith component there, right? And you shared having this out of body experience, which I also had one, probably in a very different circumstance. But I wonder what role that had in like on that more spiritual level of things, right? Because yeah, you said you had that sensation that was all you needed to believe that you could shift this, right?
Yeah.
But I guess I'm curious to know, how did that experience of being outside of your body and feeling the bliss and feeling that feeling of connection and like everything is, exactly the way it's supposed to be. How did that affect your journey from there on?
That is the most epic question because that is also the origin story of the technique we call the welcome home method. Whenever I entered that space and was inside of that experience, it was literally, I mean, I get chills when I think about it. It was just the most peaceful experience I've ever had in my life. I've never had so much ease and so much love and contentment, and you name the positive emotion hit me all at once, and it wasn't this overwhelming sense of excitement because it was just a very right down the middle. Wow, this is epic. There's nothing to worry about. There's nothing to think about or want. There's no needs that I have. There's absolutely nothing but just being.
Right.
And in that moment, it felt like I had made it home. And therein is where I created the welcome home method, because when I take you to those levels inside of the practice itself and you enter that euphoric feeling as well, that's the feeling. When I first developed this practice as a whole and adjusted it to what it is today, I had that experience again the first time that I went through and tried it, and I was like, oh my God, there it is. That's what I had found. That's what I experienced. Holy crap. And then, one of my favorite people inside of the Dr. Joe community, Dr. Janice, she helped me name that basically on her experience. And she said, wow, it sounds like you just took me home, and it sounds like you just shared what you found, because that's exactly what I felt. And that was kind of how the welcome home method, as far as the technique, fell out, was figuring out that as we move through these breath techniques, I can take you to that space. You can take yourself to that space with my guidance, because it's you making those shifts. So yeah, that's where that came from. And it's had, like, obviously one of the biggest impacts on me.
Right, that's beautiful. I mean, for everyone listening, Dr. Joe, we all know who Dr. Joe is Dr. Joe Dispenza. Thank you so much for sharing that. Thank you so much for sharing that.
Yeah, my pleasure.
And so, do you mind maybe going a little? So that was the spiritual component, and then you said the mind needed a little bit of work, right? Then the physical component followed. You were able to heal from this. Obviously, now you're no longer paralyzed, right?
Right.
So, what was that journey of the mind where you had those dark moments, and
Yeah.
what shifted that?
That's like one of the biggest. It's funny too, because people hear the story and you would think that the paralyzed, being paralyzed was the most challenging side of it. In fact, it was the mental aspect for me. Getting past, it's like everything that I lost built up, everything that I had gone through and the trauma that I experienced as a child, all compounded together. And then it just became this cycle of numb, right? Which is what addiction is all about. That's what we study in psychology, is that you're not actually addicted to the substance itself. You're addicted to the result that you get, which is the release, the disconnection, the numbing. So that's what I found myself in was, I fell into this, great, I've got my body back. but everything that I had experienced through my entire life, and the stacking up of my dream is over, I don't get to go be that pararescueman that I wanted to be. I don't get to experience all the things that I thought were going to be, you know, my career, my life, and that fed me into alcoholism, which is the easiest drug to take to, of course, because it's available and legal. And from there, I also went down the medication path with the VA, because thankfully now I give them credit. They're making shifts in their treatment plans, right? And they have alternative medicines available now as well. But at that point in time, what did they have? Talk therapy, here's some pills. Talk therapy, here's some pills. So I found myself into this drinking to numb the pain, numb the feeling. And of course, when you numb the bad things, you're also numbing the good things as well. So just falling further into that cycle, and found myself mixed into where the pills weren't even cutting it anymore. So of course I had to move on to street drugs from that point forward. And it became quite a mess, because I just hadn't handled, or at least did not want to acknowledge, the things that I was dealing with inside of my mind. And at that point in time, I wasn't very steady with the breath, right? Because I got all the physical sides back, and, you know, why do I need it anymore type of thing. I didn't really have a solid practice built around it just yet. And then all of the things happened with my father, as well as being months later diagnosed with stage 2 colon cancer. And that was when I realized that light bulb went off. You know, I realized, man, you have not been paying attention to the actual inside needs of whatever has happened to you, because you've just been in straight suffering for the past decade and a half. And it's a choice. It really is. That was the thing that I had to notice, was that I was choosing suffering. I was choosing to mire myself in the mud. And all I had to do was recognize that I had this tool, this epic tool that was just sitting there waiting for me to call back into my life. And the moment that I did, it took me, I mean, I get emotional even thinking about it. The journey that it took me on was absolutely gorgeous. It was painful. It was expressive. It was joyful. It was blissful, all at the same time. But it helped me discover myself in like the deepest sense of the way.
Yeah, no, it's beautiful. You know, there's so much packed in that. You know, there's an author and by Sid Banks, and one of his quotes that I like is, if people could only learn to not be afraid of their experiences, or not be afraid of their feelings, that alone can change so much. Because so much with my experience with addiction and stuff is that you know, that numbness is, I'm afraid of what I'm feeling. And I love the fact, I love the going home piece, because for me, it's like when it's our habitual thinking that keeps removing us away from home. And what you're doing is you're releasing that. And for me, it's falling back into it. You're falling back home. You know, it's not a place it doesn't seem like a place you need to go to. You just fall back into it through the thing. So thank you very much for, I mean, bang on. I love that. Love that.
Yeah. Yeah, my pleasure. My pleasure. And you highlighted one of the biggest things that I work through with our clients, of course, is that fact of being able to tune in to those shifts, right? And allow yourself to experience, because that's one of the hardest things to do, is to experience that, to lean into it, to take a look at the things that are plaguing you the most, and then also take action on those things. So it's very interesting, especially when you're working inside of the addiction space, because it's a insecure attachment, like you mentioned. You know, it's an insecure attachment to these things that we feel we need, or these things that have been thrust upon us by the stuff that we've gone through.
Yeah.
And all we got to do is, I think that's a great way to say it. All we got to do is just allow ourselves whatever tools we have, like this one with the welcome home method, to just fall back home.
Yeah. 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 It's, and yeah, no, I just, like, there's so much about, like, we naturally, or not naturally, but it just seems like we are habitually look for outside solutions.
Yeah.
right? Whether it's in a bottle or taking high risks or cutting, all these different things. And it's ass backwards.
It is.
It's totally ass backwards.
Yeah, that's the best way to say it. It's this constant seeking instead of this constant discovery, which is what I work with the most from my clients is, we're not seeking anything. We're discovering what we already have, that innate ability to shift and change, to become that alchemist, to pretty much do away with, like you said, to release whatever you need to release and then create that space for something new.
Yeah, no.
I mean, it's also a lot about really getting connected to ourselves, right? Like our feelings, right? Because a lot of what created all of these coping mechanisms is this attempt to just suppress the feelings, numb the feelings, not feel what wants to come through, not feel that expression of ourselves that's there. So we're really denying a part of ourselves when we do that, right?
Yeah.
When we suppress and like put away and, like avoid. I'm strong. I don't feel, we feel shame around pain. We don't share it. We keep it inside, right? We bottle up instead of allowing what naturally, it's a natural reaction that you have feelings about things, that you feel sadness, that you feel things in your body, right? Yeah. And we don't allow that expression to happen. So it really, to me, is about connecting with who you are, right? Who you already are. Like your body has this intelligence that is at all times guiding you through what needs to happen for you. But the mind is blocking it, the conditioning, the beliefs, right? I shouldn't feel this way. I should be strong. And that makes you weak, especially for men, right? Crying is, men don't do that, And so to me, all of it is about going back to what's already within us.
Agreed. Yeah. And I think you highlighted one of the biggest things is recognizing that whatever we have experienced or whatever we're experiencing is not good or bad per se. Right. It's a learning lesson. It really is. There's something inside of that. And when we look at emotions, there's really no bad emotions. And I think that's what, to your point, one of the biggest things we can do inside of psychology is to normalize the experience and the tumultuous nature of whatever you're dealing with right now, because it's absolutely normal to feel that way. You've lost something traumatic has happened, you've gone through an accident, maybe a loved one passed, whatever that is, what you're feeling is normal. Turn into that. Don't repress it. Don't let that sit in the background. That is a signal. Emotions are a signal from our body, right? Emotions being the language of the body is a signal that, hey, something needs attention here.
Absolutely. Yeah. It's just like, when you experience pain in your body, right? It's like, oh, my ankle hurts. Oh, I better look at it. Right.
Exactly. Yeah. What do? You don't go run a marathon.
No. You pay attention to it. And I've heard this from so many, other doctors, like we set the bones, but there's the magic behind the healing, right? The body does the rest, right?
Yeah.
My experience, the mind also works the same way, right?
Yes, it does.
If the body can heal, the mind can heal, right? It has natural processes within itself.
It does.
So, and you're pointing out to that. I mean, it's great. I just want to share this one quote here.
As long as you recognize that there's something to be healed, right?
Right. Yeah. That's the thing. It has to exist for you, obviously.
Right. Yeah. Right. If you're not even willing to look at it, if you're not even willing to admit that there's something to be healed, then nothing's going to change, right? You're going to continue to repress and suppress. And that is not actually putting it away. It's not actually getting rid of it. It's coming out in all these dysfunctional ways that create addiction, that create depression, that create anxiety, that create outbursts of anger, right?
Yeah.
And I really wish that there was a lot more awareness around this when I was growing up, right? It would have avoided me a lot of pain over the years.
Amen. Amen.
Interesting subject. So Leon, I'm curious, right? Because there was, you talked in your story about there was a certain the event of your father, you know, and in being part of the military too. Like I'm part of the first responder community, being a paramedic for a number of years, right? And you know, and we've got some of the highest suicide rates in the responder field. Like it's you know, anyways, that's another subject. But and we talked about this in other shows about the tipping points.
Yeah.
Right. It's like, so as much as you know, as coaches and practitioners that we are, you know, we would love to get people, you know, in, but you know, like, you know, there are people that you want, you know, you can help, and they're struggling, but for whatever reason they're not ready.
Right.
There's something there. I don't know if you can speak to that or not, or is there a thing about rock bottom or tipping points or?
Yeah, yeah. It's, you know, one of the best ways to look at it is there's always a physiological component to this, right? And when you look at the way the brain works, the brain and everything that we do is based on a program. Everything we do, 95% of everything is based on unconscious memory. And the reason that the body does that is because the body is a survival expert above all else. It's there for you to sleep, to eat, and to procreate. That's literally what the body is meant to do. So in that way, it creates these processes, these neural networks around everything that we do. So that way you don't have to expend too much energy, because higher brain function actually burns more energy than anything. Using the neocortex, the seat of our consciousness, or the frontal lobe, which is the conductor of the whole show, that higher brain function expends a lot of energy. So the body, being a survival expert, is going to build all of these natural ways of being, these programs, that unconscious memory, so that you don't have to think about, hey, look, when you got to go to the bathroom, go. Hey, it's time to eat. And then you eat. So all of these ways built around that, basically what happens is that's your program. And what do we do with our program? We hold on to it like a little worry stone, right? So whenever something hits, what happens? Do I want to move into turning into that and shifting and making a change? Or do I just want to get back into my programming, which is where a lot of the victimhood comes from. We create ourselves into the victim because we look at those natural ways of being, that 95% of our program, and we just allow ourselves to run that, because it takes actual effort and awareness and intention to shift that. And it's, if you think about it, think about like a tractor, right? As it's working. And after a while, if it's just going straight back and forward, it's going to create a rut. Very similar. We fall into that rut. And at some point, that tractor is just going to guide itself. You can let it go. Just hit on the gas and it's going to follow that line. And all it really takes are just small little corrections every now and then. It's not like you have to change absolutely everything, right? That's what we have in our mind. Like, if I want to solve the problem, I got to solve the whole problem. No, you just got to make one little shift. One little change changes everything. And in that same way, when you just slightly jerk the wheel of the tractor and create that new rut, you can take off on a new direction. So, to your point, you talked about the way the brain is, and we have something called neuroplasticity that we can express. And that is the body's way, physically and mentally, to be able to adjust and adapt to change. So in that same way, we can synaptically prune bad habits just by making those small corrections. And that literally means the dendrites between all of your synapses start to break away and prune. And then as you're building those just small little adjustments and doing those small little things, you now are creating connection between new neurons. And you're creating what's called cortical facilitation as well. Higher brain function is more optimized. Everything in your body is optimized. And you're allowing yourself to build on new processes. And all it takes is just small little corrections every day. Stick to it, turn into it, and big shifts happen.
Yeah. I mean, that's how you turn big vessels, right? It's right. But you know, we have this thing, and I love how you pointed that out. We have this notion that we created, that it's an all or nothing thing. It's like, I have to make the big leap. I have to, you know, make some kind of statement.
That's a belief too. conditioning, right?
Exactly. There's that program.
Yeah.
There's another program,
Yeah. Welcome to your program, by the way.
right? Like
Stay tuned. There's more.
Yeah. Yeah.
like all things like habit change, anything that involves making any change within ourselves, small steps, slow and steady, and be consistent. I mean, that's how the brain is wired to change. That's how you change the program.
Exactly.
You just can't pretend that you can just put it on steroids and it's gonna miss some stuff. It's just not gonna work.
Right.
There's the belief that massive action, let me just get it all done, force myself into a change that the brain is not really capable or wired to be able to make in such a speed. I mean, that's just the way it is, right?
Exactly. Yeah, we talk about that. We're going through heart math training right now, and one of the things that we do talk about is that resilience and building, that slow and steady, that adaptation that you continually do. And there's no way for you to just go, I'm going to fix it all right now. No, it's those small shifts. Even as something, there's very special breathing techniques inside of heart math that they use. And oh my God, the information that heart math has come up with from research over the past 31 years is absolutely mind numbing. Yeah. But it's amazing to see that connection that, you can make those shifts and you don't have to solve the whole problem right now. You didn't build the Colosseum in one day. And if you think about it, you didn't get to where you are just by last week. This is 20 years, depending on how old you are. If you're like me, it's 30, 40 years worth of this programming that you're working in a shift. So when you do that, it's very, very important to make those small shifts, make those small changes. Start small. Don't try to eat the whole elephant in one bite.
Right.
And the other thing I like to point out to people too, and I don't know, you can share this with if it resonates with you, but I heard this really cool story about it. Like if you envision a stick floating down a river, right, and periodically a stick will get lodged into the bank, right? Well, we don't go to the stick and say, okay, I'm going to make you a better stick. I'm going to put pontoons on you. I'm going to do all these, the stick has a natural buoyancy already, right? We have a natural resilience within us, a natural healing process. All we do is just nudge you back into the flow. Right. And then, you'll come back. Right. And then we nudge, and it's such a gentle process that you're describing. It's very gentle process.
Yeah. It's a process of love. It really is, right? When you think about it, what you're giving yourself are the things that you have not been giving yourself for so long. So it really doesn't take much when you think of it in that way, because if you're making one small change and you concentrate on that for the next few weeks, that is going to equal some huge differences in your life in just like the matter of 2 to 3 weeks.
Yeah, no, absolutely.
It goes back to what we were talking about right before Leland came on. Patience.
It is a virtue.
What is that? What is that word?
I think I've expressed it a time or two.
But that again, that is part of your programming. That is part of a habitual thinking piece around things must take a certain amount of time. Where did we come up with that?
Yeah. All stories that we've either taken from somebody else and assimilated or created on our own and just continually run and run. Yeah.
So I don't know if you guys can hear me while I had to make a complete shift in my audio because my device was dying, and now hopefully I'll still be on.
Yeah.
I'm connected now. So I wonder if you can just maybe walk us through the actual method. Do you want to tell us a little bit about it?
Absolutely. I'd love to. So the welcome home method is based, and there's many modalities that are in it, which is what makes it so unique compared to any breath that's being done across the world. Mm-hmm. And we have, so the neuroscience, the epigenetics, and the psychology side of it. And basically what we're going to work through is something called intermittent hypoxia. There's cyclic hyperventilation, episodic sighing, And then we're also going to take rest moments inside of all of that. And there's also neurolinguistic programming, which is a hypnotic way while you're in a certain brain state that we can shift that program as we move through. So, and to speak on that for just a little bit, we have 5 of the main, there's more than that now, there's 9, if not upwards, of brain waves and or frequencies that we have in our brain. And what we're in right now is beta. It's our cognitive functioning, we're decision making, all of these other things, right? The next stage below that, the more relaxed state, is called alpha. And that's what we're going to enter very quickly. Once we move into the breath work and hit our first rest point, we'll take you right into alpha almost immediately, just making that shift. And then from there, we can also enter layers of theta, which is the even more relaxed. It's what you feel before you go to bed. You know, you get that, yawn. It's because you're starting to enter theta. You're starting to get into that sleepy point of consciousness.
In between, right?
Exactly. It's where our natural intuition lies. It's where our natural instincts lie. It's also the point when you can tap in and start to program everything inside of your brain and inside of your body by using neurolinguistics or verbal communication to shift that program. And then one of the other big pieces is the chemical shift. We make a biochemical shift by using this breath in a very specific way. We will lower cortisol and adrenaline, also norepinephrine, your stress hormones, and will elevate all of your happy, more relaxed hormones, your oxytocin, the dopamine, serotonin. It also increases your endorphins as well. So it's epic for pain management because endorphins anesthetize the body. That's the body's natural pain response to shut down the nerve endings whenever you're experiencing pain. So we're going to make that biochemical shift on top of everything. And one of the other ways that we're going to make that biochemical shift is by shifting the gases inside of our body, right? Our function of our lungs is to pull in oxygen and to give out carbon dioxide. Well, one of the things that we don't really cover nowadays, that people don't really understand, you're not breathing all oxygen. That's 80+% nitrogen that we're breathing. So we're actually going to increase the nitrogen inside of our body, which is a very, very unique and special molecule that the body needs as a neurosignaler. So we're going to make a shift in the way that we're going to lower your oxygen for just a moment with that cyclic hyperventilation, which is that warriors type breath that we're going to go through, and I'll walk you through a couple of practices so people can get it down. But you're going to feel tingles and you're going to feel some tension maybe in the muscles. And that's because we're lowering the oxygen just for a moment. One of the things we know is stem cells do not like an oxidative environment. Stem cells are produced when a low oxygen environment is involved, and many other processes in the body as well. We're also going to lower your carbon dioxide. And then on the other side, we're going to elevate, while doing the lowering of the oxygen and carbon dioxide, we're going to elevate your nitrogen. And there's 3 different types of nitric oxide that are going to pop up. Absolutely amazing neurosignaler. Tells your arteries and veins to open up, called vasodilation. So all of a sudden your blood pressure lowers, your pulse lowers. Everything inside of your body is fed more oxygen because now the blood can take in more of that oxygen in the rest points. So it's also, once we start to come back to the organic breath, your oxygen elevates, your CO2 stays bottomed out, and you'll start to feel this chill that moves through your body. That's because you just created the most alkaline environment inside of your body, which purifies the blood, releases toxins from tissues, really does this full wave of cleansing the entire body and the system. And then, of course, there is the mental component, which once we start to breathe through, what we're going to do is we're going to create what are called neuromodulations, or these little bursts of frequencies, because those are going to travel up and down your nervous system. They're going to activate very specific nerve endings that activate very specific gene expression. And genes create proteins. And what are we made out of? 100% proteins. So it's going to upregulate certain proteins that are called trophic factors And these are very special protein molecules that create cell survival and also institute healing and repair as well. Just allowing the body to stay not only in that homeostasis, that normalcy, but also to create a healing environment inside to allow the body to start its repair process, so to speak.
Yeah. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's remarkable. I've never heard it like explained so well. It's really, I wonder, like, one of the things that I experience with breath work, intense breath work like that is, I've done some of the Dr. Joe meditations where one of them specifically is very intense on the forefront with the breath work. And I really realized there were moments where, like, it was my mind that was starting to talk me out of it, right? There was a little bit of panic that was setting in. What do you do about that? Like, what's your way around that?
The beautiful part is when you start to hit those moments, you're going to be breathing and you'll have me walking you through. So when you meet yourself, all you have to do is just continue to breathe. The difference between this and meditation, and there's meditation included, is meditation, a lot of people don't realize it is advanced. I mean, to be able to sit still and allow the mind to settle, because it's not about silencing the mind, that's death, you don't want that. But allowing the mind to settle that's rough sometimes, I got to pay the bills. Crap, little Johnny's done with soccer at 6:30. I can't believe I said that thing to that dude in 5th grade, idiot. All these things that start running through your head, right? So the beautiful part is with the breath is an entry vector. And if you look at all the old texts, breath is always the entry to whatever state shift that you want to create. So while you enter those points, I'll be right there with you, just reminding you, keep breathing. You've only got a little bit further. And all you have to do is do what you do all day long. Breathe in and breathe out.
I just had a weird, the first thing that we do when we come into this world, that's the very first thing.
Boom.
Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah, exactly. And one of the things too that I want people to keep in mind when we go through this little experience is your breath. This is one of the things that we have fallen off of. Your breath actually comes, or should come, from your lower areas, the diaphragm, the intercostal muscles opening up the side. So the lungs themselves don't have any muscles. It takes muscles outside of them to breathe. And if you look at 9 out of 10 people in our society, we all breathe upper chest and neck. So it creates neck tension. It creates all of these issues that we're starting to see. And it allows you to fall into that more rapid breath pattern, which creates chronic hypoxia. That's bad, because now you're permanently lowering the oxygen level in your body, creating this constant state of activation and panic that your body cannot survive in.
Very cool. Okay. So are you hinting that you're going to demonstrate something, or
I'll give you guys I'll give you guys a couple of rounds. I'll give you guys a couple of rounds.
I'm excited. What do you mean?
Okay, everybody. We actually got quite an audience out there. So
you know what? You don't need anything. Just bring yourself. All
That's
you have
it.
to do is breathe.
Yeah, you've already got the devices built in. It's already built in. So do you possibly, I think on StreamYard, you can put like a chill beat behind us or something, not too loud, just something to help give the mind more order and pattern?
I am not prepared for that. It's like
all good.
Okay.
All good if not.
So if you, I have some music. If you explain to me how to do it.
You want to chill? What kind of chill beat are you looking like? Daydreaming?
Yeah, something like that'll work.
Let's just see.
Yeah, that's perfect.
So you're super prepared.
That's perfect. Look at you, knocking it out of the park right away. All right. So the first breath we're going to go through 2 of them. And the first one's going to be in and out through the nose. So a lot of sound and power. This is not it's not one of those breaths. This is a warrior's breath. All right. So it's a in and out through the nose with that power and sound, right? Okay, so that's the first one. The second one is going to be a in through the mouth, like you're pulling in through a straw, and a sigh out. Okay, so you can already kind of feel a little something there just on those. So let yourself sit back. Let your hands rest on your knees. Just soften or close your eyes. And for the moment, just settle in. Let go. Notice the forehead and jaw release. Shoulders just fall away from your ears. Your hands become heavier and heavier. Sinking into now. And now. Decide for you, give yourself permission that you'll go all in with sound, with power, with intention. Before every breath, we're going to breathe in, and then you're going to shoot out all of your air like you're throwing a spear and move immediately in and out through the nose. So breathe in all the way to the top. Breathe in all the way up and hold, all the way up and hold. Go all in for you. Exhale all the way out. In through the nose, out through the nose. In through the nose, out through the nose. Breathe with that sound, with that power, pulling from the belly. Leave the neck and shoulders relaxed. Let the belly naturally puff with each inhale. And with each exhale, forcing out. You feel that shift already. That's the body turning on and tuning in. Continue to breathe. What you're feeling is normal. You're almost there. Right around the corner from greatness. Right around the corner from bliss. Continue to breathe. Just a few more. That intensity builds. That power coming forward. And now breathe in and hold, all the way up and hold. Hold the breath. Let go of tension. Welcome home. Go on that ride. When you're ready, slowly exhale. Sink. Settle. Surrender to the real you. Notice that connection to peace, to wholeness, to that tranquility and power inside of you. Now moving in and out through the mouth, breathing with that same power and intensity. Breathe in all the way to the top, all the way up and hold. Let go of tension while holding. Let the energy sink into your chest, feeding your heart. And now exhale, shoot it out. In through the mouth, sigh it out. In through the mouth, sigh it out. Breathe with sound, with power, with that intention of the warrior. The body may try to stop you, but you're the captain of this ship. You are the star of this show. Continue to breathe. Everything you're feeling is normal. Those nerve endings being activated, creating genetic expression inside of the body with every breath. Continue to breathe. Tuning into that power inside of you. What you're feeling is normal. You're almost there. Just a few more, warrior. And now breathe in and hold. Breathe in and hold. While holding the breath. Let your shoulders fall. Release the mind and go on the ride. Welcome home. start to tune in to that chill as you exhale. That wave that moves through the body, through the forehead and jaw, traveling through your neck and shoulders, your arms and hands. And that energy as it travels through your upper body, abdomen, through your hips and legs, moving into your feet and your toes. And hold on to that feeling that you've created. Notice how the body and the mind feel. And start to slowly bring all of that back into a refreshed and revitalized body. Take your time. You can start to wiggle your fingers, wiggle your toes. And when you're ready, take your hands with fingers closed, place them over your eyes. And very slowly start to open your fingers as you open your eyes, letting in the light nice and slow. Be gentle. Take your time. No need to rush. Welcome home.
Wow, that was amazing. I feel like I should have probably muted myself.
It's okay. We could barely hear you. We could tell you were breathing, but it wasn't too loud.
Wow, that was incredible. It was like there were sweats involved,
Mhm.
there were waves of energy and like temperature shifts.
Big time.
And
I
yeah,
couldn't feel my
like,
feet after a while. It's like they were like icy.
I love it. I love it. Yeah, there you go. You have just activated neuromodulations inside of your body that will now last anywhere from 4 to 8 hours long. That's what's beautiful about this.
amazing.
It's like taking your own pill, but you just have to breathe.
Yeah.
Right. Did you give us a shortened version of this, or how long you did this enough to get those kind of benefits?
Yeah, that's what's beautiful is even acutely 2 rounds, maybe even 1 round sometimes can make these shifts and changes in the body. Of course, we have longer ones, 15-minute for those that are on a time crunch, 25 minutes, all the way to an hour to an hour and a half practice that we have for people as well.
Wow, I'm definitely adding this to my meditation routine. I do the holding the breath to kind of get my mind to slow down, right? I hold the breath, I do it 6 times. I hold for like 25 seconds. I'm really proud of myself.
That's
I got
good.
a little bit further up. I know there are people that can do a couple minutes. I'm not there yet, but I'm going to try this. Thank you so much.
Yeah, you are so welcome. And it's funny because I hold for anywhere from about 2.5 to 3 minutes.
Oh, wow.
And the more you do this, it increases what's called your BIC, your breathing IQ. So it increases as you move along.
Right.
Actually, deep divers, free divers do very similar. Yeah.
Exactly right.
Yeah. That's how they manage to be down so deep and so long.
Yeah.
I know we're kind of at the top of the hour. I want to make sure. So your services, the clientele. I know we talked about the military and post-traumatic stress and trauma and a lot of other things that are. So, are you I'm assuming you're open to all kinds of clinical diagnoses and.
Yes. Yeah. Everybody. We serve everyone. Of course, we have our focus on military, anybody experiencing mental health issues. Physical issues, you name it. We serve the wide world, and we're here to help people realize that they can heal themselves.
Yeah. And my kind of byline is you're not broken.
At all. No, you at times, one of the things I like to say is at times I may be a beautiful mess, but I'm never a disaster.
But you're a beautiful mess.
It's never a disaster. While you think everything may be falling apart, it's actually falling into place. You're okay.
Absolutely. And that's part of the healing process, is the understanding of what's going on, right? You know,
Exactly.
and
Exactly.
you really got into a lot of detail about that, and I appreciate that. And yeah, so anybody out there that's listening, be sure you follow us, follow Leland. You have a big presence out there. You have a wonderful website and Instagram account. Reach out. I know you're very approachable.
Yeah.
Reach out.
Very.
Any questions? Um, the link, all your links are in the description of the podcast that'll be out later, and this video here. Um, any final sort of parting words of wisdom that you might want to, Leland?
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
also, like, I
Go
would
for it.
also say, maybe like, did we miss something? Is there anything else that you want to add, right, on top of that? Like,
I think we
yeah,
hit all the big ones. Like, we covered some
yeah,
pretty big topics in just an hour. So that was amazing. One of the things I highlight all the time to people is just notice the way you're feeling right now and recognize one immutable fact. You did that, not me. You did that. I just got to be the guide. So it's one of my favorite things to point out to folks. No matter how far you make it with this, that was all you. It's not that I didn't have anything to do with it. It's just that I had the smallest portion to do with it. All I am is a guide. You are the one that makes the change. You become that change artist, that alchemist, that one that is shifting into what they want to become. So it's a great way to remember the power that you hold in yourself. If you walk away with one thing from this today, just recognize how you feel right now and recognize you did that in less than 8 minutes. You are freaking powerful.
Absolutely.
that is so amazing. I'm curious, do you also like mentor people through the process of making those changes? And
I do.
okay,
We do
so you
private
also
sessions that people
okay,
can, if they want to reach out, we have private sessions that we can set up for folks where they go through their own hour journey, which includes us digging in a little bit and figuring out what your
right,
intentions are, what your challenges are right now. And then we move through a very private breath session where you get to go on your own journey.
amazing.
Fantastic. Hey,
Wow,
thank you
thank
so much.
you. Yeah,
My pleasure. Thank you.
And just
this
before
was,
you leave, this is just a fun thing.
Yeah.
I remember our conversation about a month or so ago. Like, you speak Italian, don't you?
I
Sì,
was gonna say that. Can you stop reading my mind?
sì, io parlo, bisogna di pratica, but sì.
Sì, parla l'italiano. Ci siamo parlati in italiano quando ci siamo parlati la
Ah,
prima volta.
sì, brava. Ok, yeah, sono di Vicenza.
Esatto. Yeah, we got to speak Italian too.
Yeah. Well, in the words of our forefathers, then, piacere di conoscerti.
Tanto piacere. Grazie di essere venuto. Thank you for coming on An Honest Look. It was absolutely a pleasure. It was a really, really, really powerful conversation. I loved the experiential part of it and all of the details that you gave us, all of the explanations. I don't think I've ever heard anyone explain breath work as well as you did. So
Thank you.
deeply appreciated.
Yeah, my pleasure. Thanks
The
for having me.
contribution. Yes, and you know what? And we're gonna have you back on if you will accept to come back on
Yeah,
anytime.
absolutely. Oh, and my COO, that's Maria right there, just reminded us, if anybody's in the LA Malibu area this Friday, doing a 2-hour breath spot live event at Rafi's Lounge.
Rafi's Lounge. That's the place to be.
Yeah, man.
Amazing. Can you guys come to New York too?
We are coming to New York. We have New York, Boston, and Dallas on the docket right now. We're working out all the details.
Amazing. Please
Yeah.
do let me know when you're gonna be here. I'll be there.
You'll see us soon. After summer, we're going to start our tour.
Excellent. Well,
Wonderful.
thank you very much. So I'm gonna hit the end broadcast.
Before you hit,
Oh, sorry.
make sure that you subscribe to our channel, that you follow us on social media, that you get on our podcast and leave us an honest review. Help us amplify our impact and follow our guests. You have all their information in the captions. Just reach out to them. We bring extraordinary people on this podcast. So
Yeah.
continue to follow.
You
Now
betcha.
you can hit the button.
Yeah. Thanks, everybody.
Ciao,
Ciao.
everyone.